but this is the second time I'm doing this video because the microphone wasn't plugged in all the way. I see the audio levels now. Benefit of having a flip screen. I think we're good to go. Okay. I have to do this all over again. The first time was so perfect. One take wonder. All right. This last weekend, Memorial Day, I took the OM-5 and a couple lenses up to Port Crescent, which is Port Austin. It's in the thumb of Michigan. And there's specifically a rock formation up there that I went to see a few years ago. I'll link the video up here somewhere. But this rock formation is called Turnip Rock. You can only get there by kayak or by boat, and not really by boat right now because it's so shallow you can't get that close to it. So kayak's kind of the only option. And the reason is the land around this area is privately owned by some big conglomerate, I don't know, whatever. So you can't get there. It's a 3.5 mile kayak ride out and a 3.5 mile back, obviously 7 miles round trip. And last time I went, I brought the ZV-1 for video, and I bought the Lumix S5 with the 20-60 for photos. And after that trip, I was just annoyed because using two cameras was not a great solution. And like having a full frame camera and having the separate little, but it just was like you're trying to kayak, it's small. It didn't work out real well. Now, I could have shot those pictures last time with just the ZV-1 and been okay. And I also could have shot those pictures with just the Lumix S5 last time okay and recorded video. So it was stupid on my part to do that. And the reality is I have an iPhone in my pocket. So like the iPhone's always there to do some of that work as well. This time, different mindset. So I packed up the OM-5 in this Peak Design 3-liter right here, and I put those 3 lenses in, wallet, my keys, some snacks, some water, all that kind of stuff. And we went out and did some kayaking. Now this time, it was a lot wavier and a lot more rough than it was the first time I went out there. And I was getting really, really wet. So this is kind of where the first thing comes in. The OM-5 I had around my neck or I had it in my bag, but the bag was open. And yeah, the 3-liter did a little bit of work to kind of protect it, but this thing was getting soaked. And you know, obviously no problem there. Not something unique to just OM systems, although I think they do have some of the best weather sealing in the game. But it was getting wet. I didn't really care about it. It didn't matter to me. And with being freshwater lake in Michigan, no worry about any kind of salt or corrosion or anything like that. But the cool thing was when I got out there. So like I said, I brought the 17, which is recording me now, and I brought the 45, and I brought the 9mm. I could have left the 17 and the 45 at home. I didn't need it. I used the 9mm for every single picture. And that's because I was able to get like the cliff edges and some of the story and whatever else in the frame a lot better at the 18mm. When I was out there, I remembered, yeah, the last time I went out with the 20-60, the 20 was the right focal length. But what's cool about it, the reason why I'm telling you this is because this camera, or OM Systems, Olympus cameras, had a couple features that made the experience a bit unique. So I couldn't get out there to midday, and it's not really a great time to take pictures, especially landscape pictures, because the sun is so harsh and so bright. And you get a lot of reflection and glare off the water and that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, because I had to kayak out there and how things worked for the day, that's the only chance I had to do that. And so what I brought with me was a polarizer to stick on the front of this thing to kind of cut down on some of that glare and bring out some of the colors, some of the blues and that kind of stuff. And I put that on front of there. Now, one of the things I wanted to do was obviously shoot a deep depth of field, and then I wanted to mess around with dragging the shutter a little bit because I wanted to see if I can get some like movement in the water or whatever. And I was able to combine the polarizer on the front of this lens and then use the internal live ND. And this is kind of the unique setup that I think people don't think about sometimes. They worry more about the sensor size. You know, if you were to do this normally, you'd have to put an ND filter and a polarizer in front of your lens and stack a bunch of filters, which isn't great. And then when you shoot slower shutter speeds, right, like you need to have, you know, a pretty strong ND on there or have high aperture. So the OM-5, I was able to put just a polarizer on this and then use live ND in the camera. And I think the fastest shutter speed on live ND you can have, at least in this camera, I think is 1/4 of a second. And so using the stabilization of the sensor, I was able to kind of handhold using live ND and using this polarizer in front of this lens to kind of get the desired look or output that I wanted. Now, I wouldn't say that I knew exactly what I was doing because I was kind of experimenting at the time, but that combination is unique to, I think, these Olympus cameras out of anything out there. And I was able to do it all in a small package and that kind of stuff. And so that was really an awesome experience. And, you know, I'm like shooting in the 4:3 aspect ratio. It kind of has almost a squarish look, which I like the way the square photos look, especially in landscape. And it just was a really good experience doing that. 18 millimeters was the right focal length. It's really wide, and it kind of lets you think about doing something in the foreground, midground, and background. It's harder to shoot than I think something else was, but the 17 would have been too tight. The 45 would have been way too tight, basically useless. Should have left it at home. And I just had an overall good experience. And so I wanted to share that with you guys. Not a long video. That bringing just this camera with the 9mm and that polarizing filter would have been the one and done awesome setup. And I also could have flipped it around and done video if I wanted to while I was out there. Now, I didn't want to do that. I had my friends and family with me, so I wasn't worried about making a video at the time. But it was really a great one and done setup. So I'll share some pictures here with you guys, and you can see some of those photos that I took. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have already seen these. And I'll put some more pictures up after that from the trip. Again, these are edited in Capture One. Briefly, I have kind of a preset that it's kind of like a portrait preset that I modify. And those were shot with the 17, maybe a couple with the 45. So I'll share those with you. I took the OM-5 out. Great little companion. It was awesome. Oh, before we go, gear update. I've sold all the Fuji gear. Put about $5,000 back in my pocket. I was trying to get to $10,000. The two things that are a holdout are my two pieces of Leica equipment, which is this SL2S right here. And then I have the 50mm Summicron version 5 M mount that hasn't sold yet. And the problem with this SL2S is that I've lowered the price on it. It's to a point where, like, it's such a good camera, I don't even want to get rid of it at that price, which I'm having a hard time with it. You know, I have some photo jobs I'm going to do throughout the summer, at the end of the summer, with senior portraits and that kind of stuff. And I don't know, if I don't get offers, or I get too many lowballs, or I can't get a decent asking price for it, it's almost worth it to me more to keep it than to sell it. So we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, $5,000 back in my pocket so far, which is awesome. All right, that's it, I think. Here's some pictures. Thanks for watching. Comment below, and I'll see you guys next time.